Alright, so talking about approval processes. So approval processes are a means of passing a record for approval. So ideal examples of approval processes would be a team member wants to apply for a leave. Then once he applies for the leave, it should go for approval to the manager. So that could be an ideal way of using approval processes. Another way could be that a salesperson wants to give discount. So then discounting could be an ideal way of using approval processes. In discount process, for example, up to 15% it goes to the team lead. If it is more than 15%, then it goes to the regional director. If it is more than, let's say, 40%, it goes to the head of country. So stuff like that could be used using approval process, and you can have multiple conditions in it. The same record, based on the criteria it is meeting, it can go to level A, level B, level C, etc. It can be passed on using approval processes. Let's just make our scenario a little more clearer. So if discount is less than 10%, sales rep can approve it. If it is greater than 10 and less than 15, in this scenario it will go to sales manager. If it is greater than 15 and less than 30, it goes to sales regional director. And if it is greater than 30, then it goes to head of the country, or let's say SVP. We'll align these with the roles or the options available in the org. Let's see how it goes. So first step is we need to create a discount field on the opportunity. So let's go to the opportunity. For the purposes of this training, I'm just creating a percentage field, but that's not how you should create a discount field. So discount should ideally be calculated based on products and product unit price, product sales price, and what the price your salesperson is giving. But in this scenario, I'm just creating a field on opportunity which tells me the discount. But let's keep 3 values, because 100 could be the maximum discount that can be given, percent of discount that can be given. So 3 to the left and 2 to the right. You can make it a required field, but we are not doing it right now. And default value, I'm giving it as 0 here. This would come in handy in future. So let's just do it, and I'm making it visible to all. So and adding it to all page layouts and save. Right, so we have the field now. So let's see how we can create an approval process. Obviously, we'll go to our favorite place, just setup. Then we'll search for approval. So you'll find process automation, and then you'll see approval processes, right? Then in approval process, you would select your object, on which object you want to create an approval process. So generally, you have all your standard and custom objects available here. So let's say we want to create an approval process on opportunity. Let's click that. The moment select the object, we'll see this button, create new approval process. And so once you click there, you will see 2 options: use jump start or use standard setup. We'll use standard setup for this video, but once you're through with this video, try standard setup once yourself, and then try Jumpstart Wizard as well, so that you are comfortable with both of them. Jumpstart is a quick one, whereas standard setup is a longer one. So we'll go through the longer one so you know all the steps. And once we complete the standard setup, we would have a ready approval process for us. Let's do this. So we'll call it opportunity training approval process. Right, we'll use the discount approval example here, just for discount approvals. First thing is the entry criteria. So how your record will move into the approval process. So you can check for the valid entry criteria. So in our scenario, so anything which is less than 10 should not enter this approval process, right? So we will set the entry criteria as greater than 10. So if it is greater than 10, then only it should go for approval, otherwise it shouldn't. And because it is a percent value, so we'll use it like this, right? Let's go next. So this step, which is step 3, says specify approver field and record editability properties. Who would be the approver? So It can be the manager, and you can create a new hierarchical relationship field on the opportunity which can be selected, right? But let's say manager. And record editability. So only there are two options. Only administrators can edit the record, or administrators and currently assigned approver can edit the records. Generally we keep it administrators, but you can do it based on the requirement. Then you select the email template which would go to the approver for saying that this particular record is ready for your approval. I'm just selecting any of the standard templates for now. You can create an email template and then use that email template here. We'll see email templates later on, but create your email template. You can create just a text email template, or you can create an HTML and with all the images and jazz. This sections lets you select the fields to display on the approval page layout. So what all fields you want to show to the approver, and then you can also say display approval history information in addition to the fields selected above. This is good because you can always see the history, what is happening, and allow approvers to access approval page from Salesforce application, or you can say or externally from a wireless mobile device. So if you choose this, then you will not be able to create any approval steps later, right? So choose this one. So who can be the initial submitter? Generally it is the opportunity owner, but you can set somebody else as well. So anybody can go and submit the record, or it should ideally be just the owner who can submit and his manager. So basically you can select role, and then you can select, let's say, so these two people can submit the opportunity for approval, right? Then add submit for approval button and approval history related list to all opportunity page layouts. You should always do that. Submission settings. So allow submitters to recall approval request. So you should ideally allow the person who is submitting the record to recall from approval. But again, it also depends on your business requirement, because it might send you would send an email initially and then it would be recalled. So it totally depends what your senior stakeholders in the business are suggesting you to do. I would go with recall here. And then we are at step 6 of 6. So we are almost done with our approval process, right? Let's click save. Now it is asking me, what would you like to do? So it is giving me 3 options. I'd like to create an approval step now. I'll do this later, and take me to approval details page and to review what I've just created, and take me back to listing of all approval processes for this object. So I'll say I'll create the approval step now. This is why I used the standard one. So we'll create the approval steps. What are the steps in our approval? We have 3 steps. Discount. This one is already passed because this was the step 1 and this was the entry criteria. So this is done. Now we are at step 2. Now we need to create step 2 and 3 and 4, right? Because each of these will go to a different person for approval, right? If it's the salesperson who is selling the item, he can just do it himself and boom, he doesn't need to record it in Salesforce, right? But when we need from manager and from regional director, then we need to do this. So how do we do that? So let's say the first step is sales manager. Go with that, sales manager. And obviously it would give us a unique name. We'll give it a step number 1 by default, which is available. Let's do next. So what it says is all records should enter this step, or we can set up a criteria. So we'll set up a criteria and we'll say discount is, but it is greater than 10, and discount is less than or equal to 15, right? If this happens, then we'll just get these 2 options. We'll keep it here for now, and then go to the next step. And here you have 3 options. Let the submitter choose the approver, automatically assign to the user's manager, or automatically assign to the approver's selected approver. So you can select an approver here. So in this case, in my org, I don't have a lot of users, and similarly in your playground you won't have many, so just select yourself. But you can also use the users manager field in an actual scenario. And you can add multiple users as well. So if you want 2 people or 3 people to do that, you can do that. And then you would have an option that if the first one of those 3 approves, then if either of those 3 can approve, that is okay, or you need unanimous approval from all of them. So either way, right? And then this is a very interesting option here which says delegate. So approver can delegate as well. So let's say I'm going on leave, the approval is coming to me, then I can delegate it. So it can, my things which are coming for approval to me can be passed to somebody else. This is very useful, and always be considerate of this if you are having a single person as your approver, because in a real life scenario, people would join and leave organizations, people would go on and leave. What would happen in such a scenario? So it's always good to consider, think through a lot before you jump to start doing any work in Salesforce. Think twice, think thrice, think 5 times, and be sure, ask as many questions as you can, and before you start working in Salesforce, because once things are created, then it gets challenging to rework them. So if we are using delegate approval, then the delegate approver field should be populated on the approver's user record. This is a quick thing which you can quickly do, right? So let's say you didn't check this field, then what will happen is, let's say this person has gone on leave for 2 weeks. So anything which is going for approval to him, you would have to redirect it. As an administrator, you can obviously change the approver, that's not a problem. You can also approve as an administrator, that also works fine. But then let's say this is the manager and he's on leave for 2 weeks, then you can simply assign somebody else in that particular user's delegated approver, and then boom, all of the approvals will automatically go to the delegated person. You don't need to worry. So just one single change, whereas you need to go and change each of the approvals which are coming through. It makes your life easier at the end of the day. Let's click save. Right, so now we have created our first step in the approval. Now what it says is, what would you like to do now? I'd like to create an approval action, or I like to create a rejection action. I don't want to create an approval action, but let's create an email alert. Let's do an email alert so that you know what exactly happens. So let's send an email to the opportunity owner, right? Let's call it discount approval. Right, email template, we can select any email template which is available for this purposes. We are sending it, and you can add any additional email addresses as well. So let's say you can say test@example.com, and you can add more, right? Just by separating them with semicolon, right? And we'll save. Boom. Right, so this is how your approval process is created. So let's take a look at each of them. This is currently inactive. So what happens here is we have the approval name. The entry criteria is this. Record editability is administrator only. This is the email which is going out when this approval process is triggered. Who all can submit, right? When it was created and when it was at last modified, right? We have these things available. Initial submission action, what happens when the record is submitted. So the record gets logged, it cannot be edited. This is a very good thing. When you submit a record for approval, the record will get logged and nobody would be able to edit it. Only administrators can edit it. Then we have our first step, which is sales manager, and in these two scenarios it will go to the assigned approver. But this is not the only step that we have. We have more steps as well. And what will happen if at this step, if the record is approved, then it would send out an email. If it is rejected, you can similarly add a new step or add existing. That can happen. And the final approval action and final rejection action would be approval action would be lock the record from being edited. and rejection would again unlock the record from editing. It totally depends on your business requirement. You can edit it and unlock the record after approval for editing as well. It totally depends how you want to do it. And if you want to recall, it will just unlock the record, right? And along with this, you can also send out an email. Let's say I want to send out an email saying that the record is being unlocked, right? So that can also happen on recall action. So in this case, if it is recalled, it would send a notification to the approver and not to the person who is unlocking. Now we want to add the other two remaining steps. So what we'll do is we'll click on new approval step, and we'll say what was the next step. It's called sales regional director. So we'll call it that. To the step, if the criteria is met, we'll select the field discount. In this case, it would be greater than 15 and less or equal to 30, and the field is discount, right? Let's do it, save, and again automatically assign it to approver. I'll select myself here, and the approver may also delegate, and save. We have these two steps now. Let's add the third step, and then we'll do a quick tweak in all of these three, right? So let's add the third one. It says head of country SVP, and next criteria is met. So what does it say? It should be greater than 30, right? So it's simple. We'll just use one. It says greater than 30, next, and select the approval. Choose me and click save. Boom. I'll do this later. Right now, in this scenario here, it says else approve, right? So we need to remove that because otherwise it won't go to these steps, right? So let's click edit and click on next and approve record. Instead of approve record, we'll select go to the next step. So this is the difference that you'll see. Earlier it was just showing approve and reject. Now it's showing go to the next step. That's what we want to do. And click save. Right, so here it will go to the next step. We'll have to edit the same thing here as well. So we'll go to the next and we'll say go to the next step here, and we'll click save. Right. So what would basically happen is when the record will enter this particular approval process in that scenario. So let's take an example. The discount which we have given on this particular record is, let's say, 40%, right? So then obviously it meets the entry criteria, it goes in, right? Then the sales manager here says that I can only approve till 15%. Then what will it do? It will go to the next step, which says, okay, sales director, oh, he says I can only approve till 30%. So then it goes to head of the country, which he can approve, anything which is greater than 30, right? So that's how it works. Let's activate and see what happens here, right? Let's go to an opportunity record. I have an existing opportunity. We'll go to detail, discount. Let's put 40 here. We'll follow the same example. So what I'm seeing is I don't have the approval button. So let's go to the page layout. Let's see which page layout is assigned to me. We'll go from page layout assignments, and Salesforce administrator, it's opportunity page layout, which is assigned to me. Let's click on that, and we'll go to mobile and lightning actions, and we'll add submit for approval here. So I see submit for approval is here, but still it is not showing up. I don't know why it's not showing up. Let's click save again, and if it doesn't show up, then there's a quick thing. You do a right click, say inspect on your Chrome, right, which would open something like this. Then you go on this arrow up here, and when you do a right click there, you would see these two options, hard reload and say empty cache and hard reload. Let's do empty cache and hard reload. So this is because of Lightning, because Lightning stores a lot of cookies and cache in Chrome. So that's why sometimes it takes longer to load the correct layout from the server, and it uses the one which is locally stored in your Chrome, right? So now we see this button. Let's just double check. What is our discount here? Our discount is 40. We will save it. Boom, and we'll click submit. The person who is submitting can add his comments, like why he is asking 40% approval and not something less. He can say we are just saying requesting for approval. He can leave this blank as well, but don't tell this to your users. Right, so now this is submitted for approval. Right now, I've got a notification. Himanshu is requesting approval for this opportunity. I'll click here, and what I see is I see three options: approve, reject, and reassign. So I can reassign it to somebody else as well, or I can approve or reject. So let's see what happens if I approve it. Okay, let me reject it first. Hang on, let me reject it, and then we'll go to the approval again. Let's go to the opportunity again. See, we see the approval history. So here you can see the approval was requested and it has gone to the SVP straight away, right? Because the discount was 40%. Let's make it 25% and see what happens. I'll submit it for approval again, and let's see what happens. So now it has gone to sales director, right? Similarly, if I put it like 18, then it would go to the team manager, and then he can just approve or reject it from here, right? So I'm approving it for now, right? Boom, it's done, right? So similarly, you can do multiple steps here and do a lot of things. You can do approval actions and final rejection actions and stuff like that. So that's how approval process works. These come in very handy, especially for stuff like this, which we have just seen. As a step one, whenever you're creating an approval process, you should always create your matrix like this, right? Because this is very important, to know what is happening in your approval process and what steps you need to create, who that approval needs to go through. So this matrix is very much required before you jump into creating that approval process. No, look into this, get a double approval from all the stakeholders that what you are trying to create is correct, and then go and create it in Salesforce. Creating in Salesforce is very easy, it's quick, but getting the approvals and doing it correct is more important rather than just doing it. If you have any questions, you can join the QA session, which happens every Friday, and please drop in your comments, feedback, and any questions in the comment section, and I'll get back to you.